All right, in this module, we're going to talk about the waste that personally drives me absolutely nuts: waiting. Specifically, by the end of this module, you'll know exactly what waiting is, what causes it, what it costs us, and finally some tools that we can use to reduce or eliminate waiting altogether. So let's start off with the definition of waiting, which describes situations where there's idle time created because materials, machines, inspection, or information aren't ready for people. Now, this waste is usually less visible than the others because it's often replaced by overproduction or busy work. So, as we've mentioned in the overview module, when waiting becomes visible, it's important to keep people from producing unneeded product just to keep busy, since this busy work often does more harm than good. Now, there are many examples of waiting, such as when associates aren't able to do their job because they're waiting for materials to arrive, or perhaps they're waiting for an inspector to come to verify the work was done right the first time. And another example of waiting occurs when we're forced to wait for machines or equipment to become available, either because of poor planning or unplanned downtime. Next, oftentimes, at least in factory environments, associates are not able to do their job because they're waiting for things like a forklift to arrive. Finally, many times we're found waiting for information to arrive, and until it does arrive, there's not much we can do. Now, I'd imagine you and your colleagues could easily come up with a long list of additional examples, like waiting at the doctor's office, waiting at restaurants, waiting at airports, and so on. But the moral of the story, it seems, is that waiting is indeed all around us. So, with this note, let's spend some time discussing the costs of waiting. Specifically, the waste of waiting often directly relates to lost capacity, lost operating costs, overtime costs, since even though our associates are forced to wait from time to time, there's still a mad dash at the end of the month to get the work out the door, which often means mandatory overtime. Waiting also decreases our ability to be flexible to changing customer needs, and finally, waiting can also create overproduction, which may not make sense. But if an associate has no work to do, they may feel so inclined as to keep working and producing product or goods no customer is willing to buy, which creates the waste of overproduction. Okay, so let's wrap this module up with a discussion on some tools and techniques we can use to prevent or eliminate waiting. The first thing we can do is workload balancing. Now, we cover this topic in the Balancing Cycle Time and Takt Time module in our Value Stream course. But as a brief refresher, in order to ensure work is balanced in such a way as to ensure no operator is ever left waiting for work, we need to balance each process cycle time with takt time, as shown in the example above. Next, one-piece flow or make one move one is an excellent production technique that improves many things, including never having to wait for work, since all work is balanced and work flows smoothly and consistently throughout the process. Strong standard work documents and visual management practices can also reduce waiting, as all associates know what to do, and they also know where to go to help others when they might have little work to do themselves. Finally, the lean concept of Heijunka, or production leveling, is extremely important as it relates to waiting, since without some form of production leveling, wild customer demand swings often create occasions when there's little work to do, and thus waiting, as well as time when there's more work to do than can be handled, and thus overtime. So, by smoothing production, we're able to consistently plan and schedule resources in such a way as to never wait or overburden our workforce. All right, well, this wraps up this module on waiting. In our next module, we're going to discuss the waste of motion. So, we'll speak to you soon.